बायोडेटा ये तब तक स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं और
आप थोड़ा शांत रहिए। Dear friends, good morning and Eid Mubarak. As usual, it is my proud privilege to welcome you on behalf of Professor Bramsingh Horticulture Foundation, abbreviated as BSHF, a not-for-profit organization, and my own behalf to this 5H, H stands for horticulture, 5H webinar series titled Future Horticulture. Future Horticulture is this series which we are starting today at a different time, 11 o'clock on Sunday. I am happy to welcome co-organizers Dr. Peetam Kalia, ICR Rafi Ahmed Kidwai Awardee, former head division of vegetable science and coordinator School of Horticultural Sciences, ICAR IARI New Delhi, and Dr. Shalendra Rajan, former director ICAR Central Institute of Subtropical Horticulture, Lucknow. BSHF is thankful to NIPA, New India Publishing Agency, New Delhi, for sponsoring this webinar series. Mr. Sumit Jain is here today with us. We request him to, hope he is there.
Yes, sir, I am all there.
Okay. We request him to share, in short, his feelings and ideas pertaining to this series. Mr. Sumit Jain, please.
So, good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Bram Singh, Dr. Pritam Kalia, and other co-organizers of this 5H series under the Bram Singh Horticulture Foundation. It's a proud moment for New India Publishing Agency, abbreviated as NIPA, to be one of the sponsors of this great initiative 5H. We have NIPA has been one of the publishers since 1976 and have published Dr. Singh's book and other well-known dignitaries in India in the field of horticultural sciences, ranging from Dr. Brahm Singh, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Indian Green Revolution, Dr. K.V. Peter, and other well-known personalities. We are really happy to be one of the sponsors for this, and we look forward to be partners with SURF with other programs also. And now I further hand over the dice and things to Dr. Singh to take the things forward from here, and wish the program all the very best. Thank you.
From the bottom of our heart.
Yeah.
Nice of you, and hope you will continue supporting us as you wish. Then, as per the title of the series, the emphasis is in this series of webinars is on future horticulture. Future horticulture has to be science and technology driven. Indian horticulture, which is performing in an exemplary and encouraging manner, can't afford to ignore the path of science and technology to excel in Indian agriculture. The Indian future horticulture has to be, as I said, technology and science driven. The webinar today is on technology to drive future horticulture in India. Uh, uh, Technology aided innovations. The webinar today is on technology to drive future horticulture in India by Dr. A.K. Singh, Deputy Director General, ICAR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, New Delhi. Technology aided innovations will drive the next level of horticulture production and progress in the country, reducing what? Rejection and post-harvest losses. The value addition not only to produce but the biomass horticulture sector produces and practice precision as well as smart horticulture without ignoring the buzzword these days, natural horticulture, without ignoring natural horticulture and improving horticulture markets, ensuring better return to the producers and processors, and last but not the least, providing quality planting modern material are some of the areas requiring our attention. I think these things what I talked about are important, and Dr. A.K. Singh, Deputy Director General, ICR, New Delhi, will enrich our knowledge on this in addition to what more we are going to listen. Friends, questions can be raised in comment or chat box which will be answered now or later. Now I request my colleague Dr. Pritam Kalia to introduce the speaker of the day, Dr. A.K. Singh, Deputy Director General, ICR. Please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. It's 10:30 here in California. Most respected Professor Brahm Singh ji, founder and chairman of BSHF, congratulations to you, sir, for starting this new series 5H on future horticulture, and the co-organizer, Dr. Shailendra Rajan, and most respected today's speaker, none else than Dr. Anand Kumar Singh, who is Deputy Director General Horticulture, ICAR, who will be talking on technology to drive future horticulture in India. He will put forth with us the technologies which can lead horticulture in future in India. Dr. Anand Kumar Singh has had his graduation from Banaras Hindu University and master's and doctorate from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. Dr. Anand Kumar Singh also had his postdoctorate from Saga National University, Japan, as also from University of California, United States of America. Dr. Singh has detailed experiences. He has held coveted positions as also holding now of Deputy Director General Horticulture Science, and he has held Deputy Director General Crop Sciences as additional charge also for around 3 years. Dr. Singh has been MD of National Horticulture Board. He has been chairman of Coconut Development Board. He has been executive director with additional charge of National Oilseeds and Vegetable Oils Development. He has headed the division of fruits and horticulture technology at IARI for a long period of more than 7 years, and he has been visiting scientist to Japan. Dr. Singh has had many special attainments and achievements to his credit, and The ones which are worth mentioning are Mambusho Award from Japanese government, Bronze Award in Indian exhibition at World Expo Turkey, Gold Medal from National Academy of Horticulture Sciences and Delhi Agri-Horti Society, New Delhi. Dr. Singh has contributed significantly in development of mango varieties. To his credit, he has 6 with special traits for export. He has released and notified more than 750 crop varieties as chairman of Central Variety Release Committee, has guided 19 PhD students. He has been on board of directors World Vegetable Center Taiwan, which was for the first time for any Indian. He has published more than 160 research papers, review papers, and other articles, authored or edited 11 books, including 2 from Elsevier and 1 from Springer. He has been credited with initiating biofortification research program in India, developed more than 17 technologies with respect to improved crop production. He has been awarded fellowship from 5 national academies. He has been leader of 3 international delegations from India, and he has provided leadership to 49 ICR institutions as DDG Crops and Horticulture Sciences. So with this great contribution and the positions, coveted position that he has held, we are lucky enough to have him today to educate viewers on the technologies which will guide future research on horticulture in India. With these few words, I invite Professor A.K. Singh, Anand Kumar Singh ji for delivering talk. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pritam Kalia. Good evening to you, because as you told, it's 10 o'clock. Just started before coming here. I was talking to my son. So he's in San Francisco. It's good that once again I got an opportunity to speak to the audience here on the same platform, which is presided by respected Dr. Brahm Singh ji as president of the society. And I think a large number of viewers have also joined, particularly Dr. Rajan. And I can't see, but I believe there would be many professors from IRI, from ICR institutions, from horticulture assemblies institutions from all over the country. And very good morning, very good evening to all of you for the respective locations. And the topic which I have been given to speak today on is how the technology is going to drive Indian horticulture. Friends, as you know, that horticulture has emerged as one of the most vibrant sector of Indian agriculture, spurring the growth more than 4% annually, which is higher than the cereal, with the government of India was pushing so much, naturally because the country wanted that. So after achieving the food self-sufficiency, there is a need of the production of the high-value commodities, particularly horticulture. And for those who may not be knowing, who have joined today's webinar from other than India, I'd like to mention that in India, the horticulture encompasses fruits, vegetables, ornamentals, plantation crops, medicinal and aromatic plants, also in addition to the spices. Today, we have reached to a new level of production, and for many commodities, our productivity has risen. This is the result of very sustained, dedicated, and prolonged directed efforts through policy as well as the scientific development. And more importantly, through these technologies, we were successfully able to connect ourselves with the stakeholders, primarily the farmers, value adders, and those who have invested in supply chain system, cold store system, or for the apple storage in the Himalayan states. Everywhere, the investment has given the good dividend that has given a very, very clear-cut indications to the government, both at the national level also, and also at the many state levels where the horticultural activities were not so dominant earlier. Today, they are putting a lot of focus, taking the advantage of the development, scientific and technological development in India, the crops where the income is relatively higher. At the same time, when we talk of the high value commodities, fruits, vegetables, spices, seed spices, ornamentals, as well as the, the, the aromatic plants as well. This sector calls for the high level of investment. They are technology driven because there is a huge opportunity of investment in this one, particularly the science and technology tools, which can reduce the cost of cultivation without any dent in the quality. For example, the cultivation of greenhouse, cultivation of the variety of crops, particularly fruits and vegetables. A very small number of the fruits are cultivated in the greenhouses. Majority of the greenhouses in India is dedicated for vegetables and flowers. Some new segment has also come in, particularly the chili and these crops for export purpose. So the government of India has realized this fact that this is a very potential sector in addition to the livestock, fishery and poultry. Therefore, investment is coming into very high. One thing is very clear that India has record production of the food grains, record production of the horticultural commodities. In fact, from 2013-14 onwards, for about 8 years in a row, the production of the horticultural commodities has surpassed food grain production in India. And the way the technology dissemination is happening across the country, new awareness is coming up, buying capacity of the farmer, buying capacity of the average citizen is rising. I mean, sometime back, urbanization was the buzzword. Because of that also, the demand for these commodities is on a new growth rate. And to achieve that, we have to increase the quantum of production. We have to improve the quality of production. We have to increase the quantum of fresh products that goes for the value addition and processing, both for the demand from within the country and also from outside the country. I'd like to remind you, audience, that the Prime Minister has given a call to double the agri exports almost close to 2 years back. Then the export worth of the agricultural commodities stood at close to 37.6 or close to $38 billion. 2 years down the line, in the past, since then, it has touched a new height of $51 billion. Imagine a 2 years time growth rate. And this is happening more. One more indicative which has surfaced in the newspapers and some research papers also, that in the EU and North America, the demand for the tropical fruits and vegetables, ornamentals, and of course, because of the seasonal variation in the production of some of the common crops also in these continents, is rising. This is bound to rise. And therefore, this opens a new opportunity. Global climate change is looming around. It's a reality now. It's not it's not a theoretical concept. This is happening. You might have noticed that this year the mango crop has suffered more than 30%. Yesterday only I have come back from the Kutch, Gujarat, Western Gujarat. The date crop has suffered massive rainfall. As a result, more than 20% of the fruit have dropped from the trees. That directly is denting their income, because to raise the orchards in difficult areas is very expensive. They had a buyback arrangement with the agencies in several big cities, because the dates are cultivated only in selected areas. Area is expanding, but right now production concentrates in few states only. So this has affected the market and the supply chain system as well. And on the top of everything, the cost of the cultivation has also risen. As a result, the income of the farmer is going to be badly affected. One thing is sure that the way horticulture crops, the cultivation we carried on in the field is going to change in days to come, particularly when it comes to the delivery of the inputs, particularly fertilizers or any other agrochemicals in the event of invasion of any disease or insects. The way the technologies are available, recommendations are available, diagnosis is available, this is going to be adopted, is certainly going to be under change. Efficiency has to increase. This has to be more precision-driven horticulture in days to come. Because once we produce the commodity, and this is aimed for the global markets, therefore these commodities has to stand to the fitness of the requirement from the other side. And therefore one has to be very careful what kind of product, what kind of varieties. Of course, that is I mean, before the buyback arrangement happens, this is already decided and consensus is arrived at. However, the contaminants in the fruits and vegetables, in both in fresh format and also in the processed format, has to be at levels of requirement of the destinations, because there is a huge variation for certain compounds in Europe and United States or any other destination, particularly the ASEAN countries, some of the ASEAN countries. So these informations has to be disseminated by high-tech interventions, market intelligence. Therefore, right from production, harvesting, value addition, grading, supply chain, and there are a few commodities where the government of India is milling the use of the blockchain system, so that there is the highest degree of the transparency in the process. There is a trust in the whole process, how the cultivation happens, how each and every operation is carried out in our country before it reaches to the plate, either in high-end market in India itself, or in Europe or America, or even in the ASEAN countries, because these are the Central Asian countries as well, because these are the major destination of our high-value commodities. In the last 10 years, a little more than that, the Indian horticulture has faced the challenges of the market. Our export has increased, so the profit also. And at the same time, there have been instances, there have been some rejections also on account of the residues of certain compounds in certain horticultural commodities. But there are at the same time some exemplary contribution of our research institutions. I'd like to mention here the National Research Center of Grapes located in Pune in India. We developed a high-end laboratory there, and more than 70, 80 different crop commodities samples are subjected for analysis before the decision is taken for export purposes. And I'd like to mention here that after 2002, when the largest consignment of the grape was rejected in India, no major rejection has happened since then. So that is the power of technology. That is the power of knowledge and communication with the agencies, particularly those who were engaged in the export, and the agencies who were involved in buyback with the farmers. They strengthen their connections, dialogue with the farmers for two things: the knowledge and the information. Why this is important and how this can impact in the event of not doing it, how this can impact the business so badly. Farmers understood, they responded, and they laid their trust in the technologies and our hand-holding through our institutions. As a result, that the grape rejection has been reduced to a level which is really very, very commendable job of science and technology and our institutions. Same thing, India never saw that the cultivation of chili happening in the greenhouses. But I know we have the confirmed information that in the peninsular India, there are at least 5-6 greenhouses where the chili cultivation is happening in greenhouses. Otherwise, in greenhouses, tomato, capsicum, cucumber, these are the major 3-4 crops. They dominated the whatever area under greenhouse cultivation happens in India. Now the list is expanding. This is happening only because of the technology. Yet, this has to reach to a newer height. However, when I'm talking of these technologies, whether this is production related technologies or development of varieties or the use of technologies, particularly the system which is needed with the government of India is promoting, for example, the application of or deployment of drones for spraying chemicals, growth regulators, or whatever chemicals is required in different ecologies for different purposes. Digital format of agriculture or horticulture, this is more so required, more so built in horticultural commodities, because they are the level of requirement of technology is much higher than the level of technology which is needed for major crops of India, particularly the cereals and co-cereals. Prime Minister Saab says that let us plan for Indian agriculture so that a digital format of agriculture happens. But again, this will be more useful in case of high value crops where investment is needed in relatively more volume, more amounts than any other crops. Therefore, it is pertinent to have the data sciences of different crops, which should be subjected for this kind of challenges, because we don't have in tropics and subtropics. There are various crops for which these technologies, these tools and technologies are already under deployment, but those conditions are different. They are not available for tropics and subtropics. So as you know that there are 23 different horticultural research institutions in India. They are dedicated for development of technologies, matching production options, and at the same time they have to impart education to the students and also impart knowledge and wisdom to the farmers why and how this has to be carried out, so that the real benefit of any technology, any variety, or in any reason happens for the benefit of for a compliance benefit of the inputs that used, as India is a signatory for WTO. India is one of the very big player in terms of many projects, many partnerships, many collaborations. When we talk about the Sdg Goals for 2030, so which you know that this focuses. Of course, there are 17 objectives. But if you sum up these 17 objectives, either 4 or 5 major goals are there to remove to raise the income of the farmers, to remove the each and every kind of poverty by raising the income of the farmers, particularly small and marginal farmers in developing countries. How the genetic resources which is available at hand in tropics and subtropics, how they can be identified, they can be characterized, they can be deployed in development of newer material, either to be used as a parent, or the consequence of these happens in terms of the development of varieties. And all these activities happens in a manner which is sustainable, which has the capacity to meet the requirements of today, and also has the capacity to cater to the needs of tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, so that posterity doesn't face any problem, doesn't have to curse the ancestors that why the natural resources or the natural capitals were damaged to the tune that this is unfit for use in future conditions. So therefore, the use of technologies is the only answer. When it comes to the harvesting, for example, we were talking to one agency for having a partnership with the Potato Institution. And I was really surprised, you would be also, I think, that close to 1% or something potato, it doesn't get harvested by the manual means. So if you produce 53.5 million tons of potato, so the losses, and at the same time, he says that when the mechanized harvesting happens, then these losses can be minimized. How the blockchain system, at least in those crops where the production is organized, sale is organized, transport and storage is organized, can this be deployed so that the losses based on the market intelligence informations can be minimized or reduced to a level which is really very economical to the farmers, to the country. How the application of fertilizers, how the application of fertilizer is driven, is carried on in a way that this is that this gets deployed at the most critical stage of the growth and development when this is needed. How the water could be deployed in the root zone at the time when the plant really needs, not all the time. How the drip irrigation sprinkler system can be made work in the field. I know it's very difficult because more than 80 or 86% of the farmers in India are small and marginal farmers, where the holding size is less than 2 hectares. I know it's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to adopt it by the small farmers, particularly those farmers who are whose livelihood is dependent on small farming system. But nevertheless, there are some number of the farmers where these technologies can be deployed and are being considered in view of the market demand, the quality consciousness, and in each and every ecologies. For example, we on a regular basis, we keep on getting information on how the contract farming is coming up. Number of farmers, they are waiting for this, and they want to become partners in these things, either in the clustered format or even without this also. But the number of farmers going for these things is rising. Once this happens, then it will be much easier for technology access. You know, one variety was developed in the United States. The variety in case of apples, Arctic, that does not brown after cutting also. They developed the rootstock for certain, I mean, in case of plum pox, to combat the plum pox disease in some other crop, in the plum. Where what they did was they modified the root system, and that was genetically engineered. And despite the clearance in some governments, this was not used because this was not economically viable. Area was not that much. So what I'm trying to say here is that any technology which we aim has a great potential for its potential in the farmer's field, unless this substantial area is there, probably it will be difficult. So similarly, in today's Times of India, which is a news has appeared that currently, you know, the onion production is about 26.5 million tons last year's data, against the requirement of not more than 18 million tons. But the losses, either martial losses or sprouting and other, because of the other factors also, the loss is high. Even by accounting each and every loss, we are producing much more than what is needed in the country. Today, I was going deeper into it, then I noticed that the varietal replacement in case of onion is not more than 40%, or never more than 50%, I mean to say. Imagine this happens 60% or 70%. Our production is rising, our productivity is rising, productivity driven rise is there. And the rate at which the productivity is rising, development of newer areas also happening. Onion cultivation is increasing leaps and bounds in the non-traditional zones. As a result, India is not importing any onion for the last 2 years. And I think this is going to happen. This is going to be a permanent feature, that India will never import onion from any other countries unless some major setback happens in the onion growing cultivations. but we have diversified the area itself. So this is being cultivated, and this is very much in the realm of the government's call, central government's call, that there is a need of the diversification, crop diversification, particularly in the Indo-Gangetic plains, starting from western UP through West Bengal, or even Odisha also. So once these things are happening, then varietal replacement increases, plant agronomy system improves, the cost of delivery of the water and the fertilizers and agrochemicals improves its efficiency, then the cost of production is going down because there is a scale. And farmers, on the daily basis, we are celebrating 75 years of independence. Amrit Mahotsav chal raha hai, or now we have 75 years of experience, 75 years of trust to the farmers. These capitals can be plowed back in view of new changes where high value horticulture needs, which is going to be driven by technology. I think it has a great place value in the whole scheme of economics of it. Therefore, I believe in days to come, particularly in high value crops, the deployment of drones or satellites, use a satellite system either for crop estimates, and Ministry of Agriculture is very seriously considering how these satellite data or ground sensor based data could be deployed in a useful format or in a configuration, so that a variety of algorithms could be developed, because the need of every agroclimatic zone in India is entirely different. So the one size does not fit all. Therefore, what kind of data is being collected by our institutions, develop the matching configurations and algorithms, so that these tools and technology which need these two inputs for effective deployment, either for disbursement of inputs, fertilizers, any chemicals, any pesticide or any herbicide or any growth regulator or hormone in certain crops. This will be possible only when there is efficiency, when there is a continuous training of the farmers. The benefit will accrue only after that. For example, huge amount of more than 20% of economic losses happens, particularly I'm particularly mentioning this thing because this is the Kharif season in India. More than 20% of the paddy crops, for example, or even the onion, the largest expenditure in the Kharif or late Kharif onion is because of the labor deployment. Imagine if it is done by the machine. And there are machines, some private company has demonstrated here in India, that it can pinpoint a particular weed, and this guides the machine. The machine is guiding another tool which is embedded on the platform there, in the deployable platform in the field. One machine, sensor machine, the machine which is sensing the presence of a weed, and this transfers the data to another machine on the same platform, and that guides to the nozzle, third machine, that how much chemical has to be applied only on that particular weed to kill it. I am not selling the dreams, I am not ambassador of those companies, but it has been demonstrated. This is going to happen. Like the same thing which happened during the period phase of the green revolutions. Many farmers, there are paper cutting, there are news, there are meeting proceedings that farmers never wanted to use fertilizers. They were hesitant in the beginning, but once the benefit of these fertilizers are demonstrated in the field, they started using them. And the rest of the things are history now. So I think that this is the new version of the Indian agriculture, which is the digital format, with the government of India. Is many state governments are also, they have huddled, and we are going to have new systems in the field, new kind of farmers whose responsibility is on our agriculture universities, ABK systems, and particularly the commodity-based institutions from where the technology is to be deployed, created, developed, and scaled up, and then it goes to the farmers. On them to train the farmers on a continuous basis, skill the laborers. When I'm saying these many green shoots, some of the green shoots are already showing the sign in the field. Many green shoots are yet to come, but all the shoots may not be green actually. Why? The cost of these machines and tools, you can imagine, is very high. But therefore, the government of India has taken the cognizance of these facts, and as a result, many of these schemes are constituting the part of the policy. When collective level of efforts, collective wisdom is going to be used for any business which is related to the high value commodities, particularly horticultural crops in India, these schemes are having the element of policy push. And I think in group, that is why the Prime Minister says that we have to create more than 10,000 or more than 10,000 farmer producing organizations, so that these usage of these machines and tools happens at a collective level, not only individual levels. Individual farmers, at most of the instances, is not possible. So the cooperative type of management, collective wisdom, collective farming system, which is government also, I mean, this is also reflected in government's intention that while when the government of India is pushing the cluster-based farming. At the same time, there are large number of the underutilized crops, both in the segment of fruits, vegetables, ornamentals, spices, both indigenous also or naturalized also, which the cultivation, they have never constituted the mainstream production in India. We've not been able to create any, we have not been able to create any brand for themselves, which is badly needed, because the marketing of these commodities is changing. There is a need of a new kind of things. So the demand variation is plotting a new map in the country, in the world, which opens a new window of opportunities. Therefore, looking into the demand of these things, bringing a new brand pattern for those crops which never constitute the mainstream production, creation of brand, government of India is giving great recognition to the, that is also reflected by one district, one product, so that each and every farmer on an equitable basis is enabled for their roles in nation building. And as a result, when we talk of the diversification, there is a diversification of commodity also. This is important. You know, I would like to remind the audience that if I take the example of the vegetables, we currently produce more than 200 million tons of the vegetables, which is remarkable, which is 20 million tons more than what country needs in 2030. But how many crops, how many vegetable crops are, their share is highest in such a high quantum? Based on my memory, you can check it. The potato is 53.5 million tons, onion 26.5 million tons, tomato close to 21 million tons, cabbage, cauliflower put together 13 million tons, I think. Brinjal, I think the same volume. Hardly 7 or 8 crops are contributing more than 90% of the total tonnage of vegetable crops, which is very telling story. This itself, this basket of the commodities which is contributing maximum to this 202 million tons or something is very narrow. In ICR system alone, ladies and gentlemen, we research on 134 different horticultural crops. And how many of them they constitute the mainstream production? For how many of them we have the brand in India or overseas? How we can do it? I think that is why the government is giving push on these things, which is duly supported by the financial arrangement for purchase of these mechanism, either this is drones or satellite services or digital farm and agriculture, and many advanced ground sensor systems for delivery and disbursements of input. How the software helping machines talking to the other machines, miniature machines actually. So they converse and whisper, and then the online decision is taken to combat the disease and pest containment through the deployment of pesticides or herbicides. So I know we are talking to audience which is really highly qualified, highly trained, skilled, and they have their capabilities. They have reached to this level for their contributions, and they have contributed in this pride which I am sharing with you. And those who are young enough at induction level are little at intermediate level. They have a great future like never before. We the kind of tools and technologies which has emerged for its deployment was never there. Some of them were never there in even the classroom or in the textbook also, which is a reality. I have seen the application of drones for identification of certain diseases, at least in coconut in India. I have seen that, and I have also seen that the chemicals are being sprayed in the field. I know there are some difficulties at the field level, at the ground level. That has to be addressed, and I think once we have reached to this level, probably a solution will also come up so that much more efficacy, much more precision is developed, is dispersed in terms of output when we think of the technology-driven agriculture or horticulture for days to come. Government of India has been very careful, and they have a very positive approach on their opinion for gene editing technology. Imagine many crops are there where India has been partnered with the global institutions of repute for their contributions in development of genomic resources. The intensity of these resources has intensified in the last few years. There are many traits are there. Many traits are there. They have been identified for our own countries in different parts of the regions, agroclimatic zones. And I think there are hardly 5-6 crops at global level. This technology is being worked on at a very, very, very serious way. However, in India, very few crops are being focused. Yes, of course, I mean, our attention was, we had a different kind of problems. We had a different kind of human resources. Our approach has to be different. It has to match with our requirement. It has to match with our the capability of our human resources here. We have to train them, skill them before we jump into this technology. We are not our investment cannot be to the level of those which is in the Occidental geographies. So I think I heard certain points where ICR institutions are putting their efforts for development of technologies and deployment and convincing the farmers in collective format, and the benefit will accrue once this is going to be used in the field conditions. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much for your patience, and hope you would contribute in these areas, either as a researcher or as a communicator or as a teacher or as a guide to the MSc PhD students or extension agents, so that knowledge is disseminated, effectiveness is there in the field, and the benefit accrues to both to the society and also to the nature, so that we can present posterity the natural capital in a very safe and healthy way. Thank you so much. Sabi ko namaskar. Over to Dr. Brahm Singh ji.
You are able to hear me? Thank you so much. Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking us to the futuristic horticulture technologies and the expectations both from the farmers, planner and scientist. It's a good one. I will speak a little later. I request my colleague Dr. Rajan to just list the take-home points from the talk of DDG Horticulture. Take-home points, and some comments are there. Some comments are there which are running on the screen. Question we will take later. Dr.
Thank you,
Rajan,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Uh, we had an excellent talk by our one of the important uh, head of the fraternity, who is chairing the horticulture division, where we could see in his talk we could see the several of the dimensions. Particularly, he introduced us with what is the dynamics and how the demand and horticulture productions are related. The export targets, how we have surpassed those also within 2 years. Then tropical horticulture produce, how it is becoming important in international markets. What are the requirements, particularly related with the climate change and horticulture crop production, how the supply chain is going to affect the farmers' income, particularly under climate change scenario. Then change in the horticultural practices and technologies are how those are being adopted in different ways, and the precision farming and the precision technology, how it is playing role. He has very well discussed, sir, and how the demand, the standards will be changing, and these will be changed, and the practices will also come up in a different way. Food security aspects also were related with the production has been very much emphasized, and importance of the entire supply chain, particularly relevance of the blockchain technology, he has mentioned twice, and the challenges in the market by the Indian horticulture opportunities that has been introduced to us. He also mentioned that the facilities developed by the NRC grapes, how that has impacted the export scenario of grapes, and also helped in other crops also, where the pesticide residues are important. Then he talked about different technologies, particularly the drones, ICT, digital technology, and their applications, and the requirement of the digital format of horticulture, particularly for the high value crops. It has been introduced to us. He also introduced about the role of the horticulture institutes in India, what we are hoping from them, how those are equipped, and how it is going to support the horticulture industry for their future needs. Importance of the blockchain technology, application of fertilization, particularly the partial root zone, drip irrigation, and other technologies which will be coming to the farmers' field are there. And he mentioned about the problems of the small farmers also, how they are deprived of utilizing these technologies which are available, where the input cost is less. But the contract farming in advancing horticulture requirement, and where the infrastructure is important, he has mentioned, and how it is going to change the scenario, that was also mentioned. He mentioned also about the technologies and the economic value, and how the application can go to the farmer's field. If the technology doesn't have application, it will not be too important. Mentioned about the losses due to overproduction also in some of the crops. Then productivity with the increasing, and it is increasing, but in some of the crops like onion, the replacement rate is too less, and the diversification in different crops, that has played important role. Deployment of the different technology, this is becoming important, particularly satellite data, AI, artificial intelligence, simulation of the field conditions for the this input application for better return. These are all there. Mechanization will be one of the important areas in his view, and that will reduce the cost of cultivation, particularly artificially guided technologies and the activity, practices. Then responsiveness of the training of the farmers in future technologies, it will be important component. He also emphasized that. Expensive mechanization can be supported by the policies of the government, and the collective approach, that is particularly cluster approach, that has been important, he mentioned. And underutilized crops are also important, and that's why government initiatives are making them important. Or in under ODOP, particularly many of those are horticultural crops. Then 7 crops are contributing as a vegetable production about 90%, he said. Then others are also to be important, and requirement or a branding of the crops, he has stressed on that. He also stressed on the technologies based on different areas which will be the future of our Indian horticulture. And he also mentioned that importance of the genomics resources, and under different ecologies. He mentioned how young generation can be aware of these technologies and what will be their role in the future of technological driven horticulture. We are thankful to you, sir, for such a nice and comprehensive talk where we could learn many things, and it indicates many new areas where our new researchers can start working, and many of us are aware about became aware about all these technologies. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan, for highlighting the take home points nicely. Dr. Kalia, would you like to add to this?
Thank you, sir. I think Dr. Shailendra Rajan has very ably moderated the talk, touching all points which Dr. Singh has narrated. Just to make a few mention, but that from all angle point of view, Dr. Singh has touched every point which needs to be addressed in future to further upgrade production, and not only production, as he has mentioned that from export point of view, what measure we need to take so that our export increases. As also he has highlighted that we haven't gone back with any consignment since 2002. So that's a big initiative that has been taken by himself for the last more than 5 years, that he has been holding this coveted position and interacting with the government, and also that contract farming, which is important aspect, which has not yet taken place to that much extent. And from that point of view, what I believe he has already highlighted those things, that the varieties in all crops, in all horticulture crops, we haven't yet very many varieties which are industry friendly, which are nutrient dense varieties, so that industry can ask farmers to grow specific varieties of fruits or vegetables or spices in that much area, so that people can come forward. I think that's the important sector where farmers will love to come forward, because their crop will be sold even before planting in that sector. So that's a very important area, and I think our institution, as he has mentioned, are taking care of future development of varieties, where they are now concentrating upon gene editing technologies, biofortification, which are important aspects from that point of view. In few years of time, we would be having such varieties in future. And crop diversification, which is also very important from that point of view, that he has said it's a narrow window we have presently. I think it's also because of that reason that the diet habits of our people is not much diversified to other crops, because of that reason. But I think as the literacy level is increasing and a lot of information people are getting to stay healthy with the diversification of diet, I think this sector is also going to increase. And simultaneously, that we can export, if we study the export requirement of different countries, which is also increasing. A lot of Indians are established abroad in different countries, so their requirement is also increasing. As Dr. Singh has already mentioned that the tropical crops, fruits, vegetables, or whatever, they are in great demand, and demand is increasing. So the export requirement, and also the foreigners are also shifting towards that, not only Indians. So that's a big area and a good area, that and also from farmers point of view, if there are certain crops which are wanted abroad and we can grow them, we have different environment in our situation, and also using the greenhouse technology, as in some of the crops it's already has taken place. It's a good initiative for us. In those areas we can further optimize the things and give better technologies to our farmers. And mechanization, which he has very much highlighted, which is very important, I think, in future. And as we find that manual work is not much left now, and the new generation which is educated don't want to go for manual things, but they can make use of the new technologies in a better way. They are entrepreneurial skill also, compared to the our generation. New generation is much more entrepreneurially active. So that part is very important, where collective level, as he mentioned, and government also want to bring it in a policy matter. These are important areas which he has highlighted very much, and I think it's going to give big boost in future, as also being perishable crops, how we can add value to our product because sometimes production is so much that demand is less and produce goes waste. How we can further make use of it, as most of the farmers go by the adjacent farmer, what he is doing and how much he has earned in the previous year, next year, everybody will go for that. How can we guide them that they should go judiciously in putting area under these crops? I think these are very important. And also with respect to the efficient use of water and nutrient and application of various chemicals, regulators, pesticide, nanotechnologies are there, which I think going to be revolutionizing the future of horticulture. And I think we have had, and he has taken to all aspects which are required ultimately to take horticulture in future. I think viewers must have been educated, and they must take note of it. And the active workers now, the researchers, especially the young ones, how they can take up their program rather than only mentioning, going forward with their score. They should work on technology and future upliftment of horticulture farmers. With that, I thank Dr. Singh for a nice presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kalia, for adding points to that, what all Dr. Rajan has summarized and Dr. Singh elaborated. Can we have the questions, if there is any, with the
If you
permission
allow
of
me,
Dr. A.K. Singh?
if you allow
With
me,
the
one question come to me in my mobile.
Dr. Saab bol rahe hain.
the question is there on the screen, Daksa. Can you read it?
Yes,
Are
I
you
can
able
read.
to read?
Permitting gene modifications.
Kindly answer that.
How do you see this help improve horticulture in India? How biotechnology can help further improve farmers' doubt on their income? See,
The people expect this thing from you.
yes.
Okay.
So
Okay,
the
okay.
government has taken, as I said earlier, also the government of India, particularly the Ministry of Environment and Forest, has taken a new, given a new look on this potential technology, and for trial purpose, they have nodded, and I hope wherever the ICR system or few agricultural universities or some research laboratories in India, they have. Uh, they have intentions to start work on. I think at research level that is permitted, and since there is no any alien gene involved in development of a material through gene technology, so the permission grant is still to come, but at least in research this has been given to take it to the next level. So, for example, if in gene editing there is no any foreign gene is no any genotype is tinkered from any kind of genes or segment of from the alien sources, bacteria or any other sources, which was the case in case of genetic modification. As a result, this crop on a comparative basis has a much more advantage than the previous ones. So once it happens, then the same gene pool, it has to be either silenced or replacement of one segment to convert the activity or expression of the genes, which is needed either for any tolerance or for resistance or for any quality improvement. You know, as it's not that easy to achieve it, but there are for traits where the single gene traits are there in commodities. I think this will be much more easier than in quantitative traits. So the government, and once that happens, then all the queries associated with the genetically modified material was there in the public, was there in the full glare of the media. That is not going to be here in this case particularly. Therefore, I believe personally, as a scientist, this has a great scope, and this will be very, very, I mean, something like pro-environment, pro-trade, pro-demand, and at the same time, no risk to the environment or to the consumer.
Thank you, Dr. Singh.
And one more.
Dr. Surendra Kumar Tikku has raised, I don't know whether I should call it a question. Excellent talk, Dr. Singh. Very good point that big need to diversify the vegetables we eat. Instead of 7, 8, we should have at least 20 types. And for that, concerted efforts need to be made to educate not only the farmers but also the consumers about the possibilities. Yes, both private and public agencies jointly should educate all the stakeholders, then only we will be able to achieve. If you want to add something, Dr. A.K. Singh, you are welcome.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's a very, excellent question also that it has grabbed his attention. I know he's a very accomplished worker also. So the government of India, both the central government also and also the state governments, they have taken very active roles actually through media to promote how the nutrition has to go to the next level. That is why the government is also giving a focus on advertisement of these commodities, how to add biofortified commodities in the diet system. And some governments has also added some of the dry fruits are, not very expensive ones, where the nutrient supplements is there in the midday meal, and they are also considering sweet potato. It has not happened yet, but I think there are some discussions in 1 or 2 meetings. Uh, this has been deliberated. So I think the government, for publication, and the global institutions also, they are promoting these things through their arms in different part of the world, including in India. One more question has come to me, that how do ICR see the usage of the greenhouse for the fruit crops? See,
Yes, okay,
In
okay,
India, very briefly.
okay. No, you take time.
So in India, we have 139,000 hectare area in grape cultivation, and on and off the grape. At the time of harvest in March and April, there is a unseasonal rainfalls. As a result of that, the grape berries they crack, and that causes the huge economic losses. And the investment, in raising the grape orchard is very high. Therefore, many farmers in Maharashtra, they are thinking, and some of them, they have erected the rain shelter also. The top is covered and the side is either open, or side is having the net, a very low cost net. As a result, in the event of any cyclone or hailstorm, they are able to save their crop. As a result, the income, if the neighboring farmers are adjoining areas farmers, they don't have this kind of structures in the event of happening of such calamities. So the cost of the grape rises. So that premium price is harvested by such kind of intuitive farmers. And I know, I have seen when I was doing my postdoc in Japan in 2019, 89, 90, 91, then I have seen myself the cultivation of citrus in greenhouses. That brings the product in the market at least 20 days in advance. So the trick in the market is, for high income or premium price of your commodity, is either you bring your product in the market early or in the late. You have to obviate the glut. You have to escape the glut, and therefore expand the window of availability of this commodity also. So greenhouse is one solution, and now it's possible that the greenhouses, I know I've seen in ARI vegetable division also, when Dr. Pritam Kalia was heading, I think he started, and the supply of the vegetable seedlings was started, and now the CPCT is on a contract basis. They are producing the vegetable plants in the plugs before, 10 or 15 days before the season, so the farmer can plant in the low tunnel of the poly structures, and the product comes and he sells at a premium price. So therefore, I think the greenhouses and the low tunnel structures, both for vegetables and fruit crops, this is going to be useful. Can you imagine mango in the greenhouse? This is happening, not in Japan, but in other parts of the world also. This is going to happen in many other crops. So
I'm waiting when I will eat mango grown in greenhouse in India. I'm waiting for that. I don't know by that time I will be there or not. But I have got high hopes. High hopes to eat mangoes grown in greenhouses here in India. I have got a great scope. Anyway, yes, sir.
Sir, At the same time, I hope you'll get it. But at the same time, there are much more potential fruit crops
Yeah.
which could be grown in the greenhouse conditions where the need
Oh,
is
that's
more than
right. That's right. We should switch on to the greenhouse cultivation sooner the better, because the climate change otherwise will force you to switch on. Either you yourself start doing that, otherwise the climate change is there to force you to switch on to the
I don't want.
greenhouse farming of fruits.
Yes, and sir,
One
I
has
would
to
like, if you
say
allow
yes,
me, if you
yes.
allow me one information, I'd like, maybe I might have shared in my previous presence here. Then
Anyway, share.
I have seen myself in the Hosur road of Karnataka, the road which connects Bangalore and Chennai. There, that side area, the number of greenhouses maybe in several thousand, and they're all cultivating fruits, vegetables or flowers, not the fruits, other than strawberry, for a small phase, a small period in the year. So there, one farmer took me to the tomato greenhouse cultivation, and he, in front of my own eyes, he harvested tomato on a square meter area. It was more than 40 kilograms. 40
That's right.
kilograms per square meter area turns out to be 400 ton, against the productivity of tomato in India is 24 tons. Imagine, sir, if it happens in other crops. I know it's not possible, but this is where the role of science and technology to develop the varieties which are amenable to be grown in the greenhouse condition because of the pollination issues.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yes, I agree with you. We scientists have to give the proper planting material suitable for those houses, whether you call greenhouses or structure, whatever is there. And the engineers should come out with the most effective or efficient structures for different crop, different varieties, and for different region. Then only the things will move. And
ah,
as I said, either you do it you voluntarily, otherwise climate change will force you to do that.
that will change you.
Yes. Uh, that's all. If it is a hello, somebody want to say something? No. Okay. Then I think we have taken more than 1 hour. Sorry, Dr. Singh. I promised you only 1 hour. Anyway, because you are very busy, and nice of you that you could find time. You could find time because you love us. Otherwise, for a person like Dr. A.K. Singh on that seat, it is a damn difficult to accommodate the people or the organization like BSHF. So nice of you. We are really indebted and thankful to you for giving such a thought stimulating talk. Though I had got certain points in my mind which I will discuss with you, but let me say one point. I anticipated that you will touch upon the subject natural horticulture. I think we will have it sometime again on that, either from you or the person you suggest the natural horticulture, the buzzword these days in the country, and the policy also is towards that, and a lot of funds, I'm told, I don't know, but have been allocated for that, I'm told, for that. So we want to educate our people are those who listen to us. We want to educate on that. Your talk was superb. And see, without technology, in nutshell, I should say, without science and technology, you can't progress. Without science and technology, you can produce, you can multiply the population only, but not the crops, not the food, not the food. For food, you have to take the help of science and technology to meet the challenges, not only the more mouth to feed, but the adverse climate for the crops. Both are on the increase. So the scientists have to contribute a lot, and whatever the advancement in the science and technology is there, it is not that somebody wants to have the recognition or something there that they are publishing or making sound. No, the scientists are working only for the betterment of the society. One should have the faith in that. That scientist means for the society betterment only. Now. So have faith in that science and technology. And I like the word which the observation Dr. Singh made. that the replacement of the varieties, hardly 40 or 50%, that too in some important crop. What about the rest crop? And if in that very crop, say 80% replacement or 90% replacement with the new variety or hybrid is made, you see where the produce will go. We will be able, and which we want to do that to feed the world. We want to feed the other part of the world also, wherever the requirement is there, not targeting that we want to feed particular country. No, as and when there is a requirement, we should be the first to supply the food to that country or the continent. That's what we made. And I think yes,
one
sir.
question. One question has come from Dr. Sunil Parikh. I'd like to answer.
Just a minute, let me complete, then you can answer it.
Oh, yes, sir.
Let
Yes,
me
sir.
let me complete, otherwise I will lose that this one. No? So I think we had a wonderful talk. Nice of you again for sparing the time, and I am thankful to my colleagues, Dr. Kalia and Dr. Rajan, who are much more sincere than me. And they keep on asking that, sir, link has not come, sir, this has not come, sir, biodata has not come. I really appreciate, and you should also encourage them, their interest in that. That's why we are able to, I think, hold the webinar. And thankful to the speaker. We are lucky that all the speaker just they oblige us, they agree, and not only agree, they deliver the quality talk in the interest of the country, whether you call the Amrit Mahotsav or Super Amrit Mahotsav, whatever Mahotsav, our country should progress. Our country should have progress, particularly the horticulture with which we are concerned. Horticulture should be at the top, and I'm sure, more than confident that it will be on the top. And country will be looking towards horticulture for meeting the food and medical requirement. Medical requirement. The pharmacology, whatever you call that, plant or phytopharmacology. We do produce medicines biologically, or safe one, not unsafe like others. So we do produce that. I think we will be covering some of the webinars on that, herbs and etc. So with these words, I thank one and all. And before we close, let us take the question of Dr. Sunil Parikh. If Dr. A.K. Singh permits me, I can read it. Is there any clear recommendation for different polyhouse, greenhouse structures in different parts of the country from horticulture division? You had it, the horticulture division, Dr. A.K. Singh. So
Yes,
you answer. If
yes.
you need my, I can also add something to it. Okay, you answer.
See, it has many dimensions actually. Promotion
Yes.
of greenhouse for cultivation of any commercial crop has many dimensions. The economics is number one. Greenhouse can be promoted for a reason for a crop where the entire enterprise is going to be economically viable. If you start producing each and every vegetable in each and every part of the country, then there will be a question mark. Yes, as regard to the technology or polyhouses structures for different parts of the country available, no, at the moment this is not available, which is, I mean, yet in the process of development, because for many agroecologies we don't have. For example, in the hilly regions, the kind of structures are there, particularly the top, which was recommended earlier, is reported that it weathers very quickly and loss occurs. So as a result, the farmers lose the real benefit out of this technology. But we are in the process of development. We are also in the process of development of the fact that which area needs what kind of greenhouses or polyhouses for which crop. And if the farmer is going to use it, will it be economically viable or not? This aspect also. I hope this answers Dr. Sunil Parikh. Thank you so much.
If you allow, I can add something to Dr. Parikh's question.
Please.
Though I'm happy that Dr. Parikh is attending the webinar. Nice of him. See, this greenhouse technology, it is bound to come in the country. and it is going on not mainly in the public sector, but the private sector is making a lot of progress in that, bringing the or importing the technology to the extent that even we have got the retractable greenhouses. We had the webinar, I think, a few days back. As and when the climate improves, the structure opens, and when the climate is bad, it gets closed. But that greenhouse technology, as you know itself, is a distinct and different technology for which we have to work out. We are not able to lay that much emphasis so far. But we have made a good beginning. Even the National Horticulture Board has announced the subsidies for certain structure, naturally ventilated polyhouses, net houses, and certain tunnels, etc. All sort of things. They are also greenhouse only. Na? But the climate control greenhouses, whatever technology is there abroad, if you can afford, you can import it and do little bit of modification and go ahead with that. And that's what is going to come up. What we are talking about, the plant factories or vertical farming or the soil-less farming or hydroponics, etc. Those things are going to come up. They are there, and that is in other form of this your greenhouse technology. So Parik Saab, great scope, and be ready to add value to the greenhouse crops only. You will get the processing material of a better and uniform quality to add value to it. So, if there is no other question, once again, thank to one and all. And we meet again next Sunday, 1100 hours. 1100 hours only. Interesting topic is there. You keep on eating, or we were discussing all that food grains and horticulture. When we say horticulture, only the fruits and vegetables. Now we will be discussing for good 1 hour the flowers, edible flowers, not for simply saying, but for eating. Edible flowers, please do join. You are welcome on that. Edible flowers, the next Sunday, 1100 hours. Till then, thank you so much for support, asking questions, and encouraging us. Thank you so much, and a special thank to DDG Horticulture for sparing time. Really,
Okay, sir.
you
Good night.
have you have favored us. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you.